The sermon series that we have for the summer is based on Pixar films, Disney films. And this is the story of Cars 3. How many have seen Cars 3? All right. It's a great film. A lot of these Disney Pixar films have some really good messages. And so the sermon that is preached each Sunday is based on the film that we watched, for those who could be there on Friday night. So that is, Tyler, who's on the left? Who's the guy in the blue car? Jackson Storm. And on the right, in the red, is Lightning McQueen. Now, Lightning McQueen has won the Piston Cup 7 consecutive years, and he's been racing for a long time. He trains in the off-season on dirt tracks, really old school, but he has owned the racing world for over a decade. And then this young whippersnapper, Jackson Storm, comes up with attitude. He's being trained on the latest equipment, the latest technology, and he blows past Lightning McQueen, leaving him in the dust. And in one of the races, Lightning is pushing himself beyond his limits because he's used to winning and he's no longer winning, and then he crashes and he goes up in flames. And he goes back to Radiator Springs, the old town where he grew up, to nurse his wounds and think that his best days are behind him. You ever feel like you've lost a little bit of your game? Maybe you move into a new job and it's a new skill set that you have to learn. Our daughter, Caitlin, has just started a new job with Iowa Public Radio. And she is learning a whole new skill set as a producer. And for the initial weeks, it's really been a stretch for her. She's really been acquiring new skills and feeling kind of out of her element. Have you ever felt that way? Like maybe you're a little bit over your head, or maybe the skill sets that worked at one time in your life, there's a whole new set of skill sets to learn. Lightning McQueen feels like his best days are behind him. For the people of Israel had been conquered during the time of Isaiah. They had been exiled to a distant land. They thought that their days of being a nation state were over. They thought, if they were really honest, that God had abandoned them. They felt like they were all alone. Have you and I ever felt that way? That maybe God has lost track of us, or we have lost track of God. And to the people of Israel, in the midst of feeling like they too were now irrelevant, that they had lost their place, Isaiah says this: "Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God?" Israel feels like their best days are in the past. They feel like there is no hope. In Cars 3, the Pixar film, Lightning McQueen feels like there's no future, that there is no hope. Richard Bach, the writer, says, "Argue for your limitations long enough, and sure enough, they're yours." You ever think to yourself, this is as good as it gets? Or I can't learn this new skill set? Anybody like me get intimidated by technology? Okay, all right, I'm not alone. My kids can do it like it's just second nature. You get Tyler in front of a laptop and he's fearless. And I'm afraid I'm going to break something. I'm afraid if I make an error in something on the computer that I'll never find my way out. We argue for our limitations, right? All the time. But God is always arguing for our potential. We may focus on our limitations. God always sees our strength. We may focus on our faults and our imperfections. We can be our own toughest critic, right? If I ask you to list 10 things that you really like about yourself, it may take a while. We'll get there, but it may take a while. But if I ask you make a list of 20 things you'd like to see improved about yourself, then we can go right to work, right? I'd like to be better in math. I'd like to get a nice tan at the beach. I'd like to hit the long ball in baseball, really hit a home run for once in my life. I'd like to do this and this and this, but we argue for our limitations. It's human nature. But God is always arguing for our potential, to claim our giftedness, to see it not only in ourselves, but to see the giftedness in the other. To realize that there is always hope, that we are, as Christians, people of the resurrection. We are people of renewal. And I don't know what's going on in your life at this particular time. Maybe some of us are dealing with some real struggles. Maybe we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And if you're not there now, there have been times when you've been there, right? We all have. God is always arguing for our potential, helping us to be people of hope. So in Cars 3, Lightning McQueen doesn't see any hope. The people of Israel 3,000 years ago didn't see any hope. They were arguing for their limitations to the point where it became their reality. And that's what happens to us too. So in the movie, the character on the right in the yellow car is Cruz Ramirez. And she is this young would-be racer that hasn't been able to make her mark, hasn't been allowed by the elite racers to even get on the track. And her job, Cruz Ramirez on the right, is to teach Lightning McQueen, this old racer, this old war horse of a racer, some new skills, some new ways of training with the latest technology so that he can go up against the new upstart, Jackson Storm. And the plot of the movie is the tension between Cruz Ramirez, who with the best of intentions wants to help Lightning McQueen get back in the race. But what happens over the course of the movie is that Lightning McQueen, 7-time winner of the Piston Cup, and now sort of a second-class racer, realizes that his role as an elder is to help Cruz Ramirez find her place on the track. He realizes that it's his role as an elder racer to equip and empower the next generation to find their place, which I think is our calling too. If you're in my generation or near my generation, I think our role as elders is to empower and equip the next generation to live out their faith, to realize and claim the unconditional love of God, the infinite grace of our God, grace that fills our life with meaning and with purpose. When I was a young pastor, I was going to seminary, Andover Newton Theological School in Newton, Massachusetts. And there was a lady at First Baptist Church in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, where I was doing my field work. Her name was Myrtle Bartlett. And when I met Myrtle, she was probably about 78 years of age. She had never married. Her family was the church. And she was a woman of prayer. She told me that every day she began with a list of 50 names. 50 names of people that she read about or incidences in the newspaper or saw on the news that morning. And she would take 50 of those concerns, like those boys from Thailand that were caught in that cave and amazingly were rescued. Myrtle would have prayed for that situation. She would have prayed for each of the boys, even though she didn't know them by name. She would have prayed for their coach. Every day, throughout her adult life, she prayed for people that she had never met, but she read about or heard about. And then at night, before she closed her eyes and went to sleep, she prayed for 50 people that she knew. Every day, and I was on that list. She told me, Kent, every evening before I go to sleep, I include you in my prayers. Myrtle, this church lady, 78 years of age, was my mentor in a life of prayer. And so now, this guy who is not the most organized guy in the world, I keep a daily prayer list too, because of Myrtle's example. And on any given time, any number of you are on that list, because Myrtle taught me. She was the elder passing the baton of faith to this 25-year-old would-be pastor. I think of a man named Ezra Cook. Ezra Cook was 82 years of age when the church that he was in wanted to start a new worship service with, Lord have mercy, drums and electric guitars. That was not Ezra's thing. Ezra had started a waste management company. He'd made a lot of money. He was very generous in the community. And he realized that what that new worship service wanted and needed were a drum set, electric guitars, amplifiers, and Ezra bought all the equipment. He even paid for some technicians to come in and show everybody how to work everything. And he would come to that worship service with his earplugs in, probably 50 years older than the oldest person in that room. And he would have this huge smile on his face to be celebrating with these young people as they worshiped and as they sang. Because Ezra recognized that it was no longer about him and his wants and his needs, that his calling as an elder was to empower and to equip and to provide a strong foundation for the future of the church, the future faith of these young people. And so he put in his earplugs, and he came, and by his presence, he blessed that young group of people and that new initiative. I think about the mission team, 29 people, ages, Finn is five. Harper is 5 years old. Buck, were you the elder there? So Buck is over 5 years old. So think about it. You're on a mission team. And there aren't many churches that do this, that intentionally create opportunities for this mix of ages, from ages 5 to over 5, to come together, to work together, to pray together, to fellowship, to eat, to be together for an entire week. And my guess is that there are seeds of faith and service that are being planted in Harper's life, in Finn's life, and in Buck's life. It's a beautiful thing when we as elders claim our role of finding creative ways of sharing our faith with others. Because that is our calling as a church. Younger generations under age 30, the majority of folk, fully right now, 35% claim that they have no faith tradition. 35% of people in the United States under age 30 claim that they have no faith tradition. And that rate is increasing at a dramatic rate, about 5% every 5 to 7 years. So just do the math. Whole generation being lost. So the call, the opportunity, the invitation for us as people of faith, elders like me, younger folk like Leah, is to think about how do we share our faith in a way that is meaningful, in a way that resonates. That is our calling. And it is truly a beautiful thing. It says in Isaiah chapter 40, God gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary. And then Isaiah 40, verse 31. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. God is saying through Isaiah to the people of Israel, I know things are challenging right now for you. I know that you think I am far away. But those who wait upon the Lord, He'll renew your strength. You'll mount up on wings like eagles. Whatever is going on in your life, whatever keeps you awake at 3 in the morning worrying about perhaps someone in your extended family or situation in our world, our crazy world, whatever is challenging you, our call is to stop arguing for our limitations and to claim the promise of our faith. Soren Kierkegaard, the theologian, said, God is always present. God is always present, simply waiting to be found. God is with you at 3 a.m. when you work the worry beads in your bedroom. God is with us when we are trying a new set of skills. God is with us when the future seems dark, and God is with us when we are full of joy and celebration. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. We shall mount up with wings like eagles. We shall run and not be weary. We shall walk and not faint. With God's presence, with God's hope, all things are possible. And our calling is to encourage, equip, and bless one another along the way. That is the good news. Thanks be to God. And may God's people say,